Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
This is the city. Los Angeles, California. I work here. I'm a cop. It was Tuesday, August 10th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of Homicide Division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. We'd gotten a call that a 72-year-old man and his invalid daughter had been brutally beaten. There was no lead to the identity of their assailants. We had to find them. Miss Hurley?
That's right. Who are you?
Police officers. It's my partner, Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
Oh, well, it's about time you got here.
Yes, ma'am. We'd like to see Miss Rarick, please.
Oh, I don't think you can. The ambulance man's with her now. Giving her something to calm her down. Poor thing certainly needs it.
We'd like to see her, please.
Told you, don't know if you can. Have to ask the ambulance man.
Yes, ma'am. If you'll just let us talk to the attendant, please.
Well, you just wait here. I'll talk to him.
We don't like to be rude, ma'am. This is a police investigation. I wonder if we can see Miss Rarick.
All right. Your feet.
Ma'am?
Your feet. Wipe them off. You ain't going to come in here with dirt on your shoes.
Where's Miss Rarick now?
Back there in the bedroom.
I wonder if you could tell me what you know about this, Miss Hurley.
You just bet I can. You just bet. That poor girl back there and her father lying at death's door because you didn't do your job. You know that.
Ma'am?
At death's door. You're supposed to see that things like this don't happen. That's what you're paid for. And look, just look what happened. Both of them all beat up. Just don't understand what the world's coming to when things like this can happen.
Well, first, ma'am, there was no way we could stop this. I think you understand that. We're trying to clean it up now. We're going to need your help to do it. Now, if you just tell me what happened.
Oh, well, that's what you say, but I know different.
Now, look, Miss Hurley, the faster we can get started on this thing, the better chance we have of getting the people responsible for it.
Well, what do you want to know?
If you just start at the beginning, please, and tell me what you know about it.
Yeah. Well, it started this morning about 7:15, I think. I heard this noise at the back door.
What kind of a noise?
Kind of a scratching and a moan, tiny little moan. Sounded like it was way off, kind of in the distance.
Yes, ma'am.
I got up and went to the back door, opened it, and she was there on the porch, just laying there, looked awful. Just wasn't no task at all to see she'd been beat up.
Yes, ma'am.
I came back in here and called the ambulance, then I went back out to see if I could help her. Tried to tell me what happened, how they'd beaten her father. The way they'd hit her, she couldn't talk too good.
I see.
About that time, the other car got here, the one with the men in uniform.
Yes.
They looked around, and they went over to the other house.
That'd be the Rarick house.
That's right, next door.
I see.
Joe?
How is she?
Pretty bad.
Can we see her?
The attendant says for a couple of minutes, no more. They're going to take her to Georgia Street.
Okay. I'll get it, Miss Hurley.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, just got word from Georgia Street.
Yeah.
Girl's father.
What about him?
Dead on arrival.
8:22 a.m. We continued the questioning.
Just that there were two men. They came in, beat up on her. That was enough.
I see.
One look and you could tell she was hurt bad, and her an invalid. Just don't understand how anybody in their right mind could do a thing like this. Just don't understand it.
Yes, ma'am. You say she's an invalid.
She and her father were in an auto accident a couple of years ago. Some drunk ran right into him, smashed the car all up. Laid Mr. Rarick up for a couple of months and put Patricia in a wheelchair for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Poor little thing, can't walk at all. Must have crawled over here. Don't know how she did it. Great courage. Great courage.
Yes, ma'am. Now, did you hear anything at all last night?
What do you mean?
Well, a disturbance of any kind.
No. Went to bed about 10, slept like a rock, didn't hear a thing till this morning.
You said that was around 7?
7:15.
But you didn't hear anything before that?
No.
You know if there was anyone that the Raricks were afraid of? Anybody who might have a reason to do this?
Can't think of a soul.
How about money? Did Mr. Rarick keep large sums around the house?
Well, now I don't know for sure. He might have.
Joe?
Yeah. Excuse me.
You gonna want to talk to me some more?
Yes, ma'am. We'll be back.
You want to see her now?
Yeah, we'd like to. Miss Rarick. Miss Rarick?
Who is it?
Police officers. We know you don't feel well, but there are a few questions we have to ask you.
Have they got him, the men who did it?
No, ma'am, not yet.
I tried to tell them to take anything they wanted. I tried to tell them, but they wouldn't listen to me.
Ma'am?
They hit my father. They tried to kill both of us.
Do you know who the men were, Miss Rarick?
What?
I said, do you know who they were, the men who did this? Had you ever seen them before?
No, I don't think so. It was dark. I heard them argue with my father. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. I screamed, but they didn't pay any attention to me. They just kept hitting him.
Can you describe them for us?
And they came into my room. I told them to leave me alone. But they hit me and they hit me. There wasn't anything I could do.
Is there anything you can tell us that might help us to identify them?
And they put me in a closet and locked the door. I told them to take what they wanted.
All right, Miss Rarick, everything's going to be all right. Try to get some rest.
How's my father? Is he all right? Did they kill him? He's dead, isn't he? I know he's dead. They just kept hitting him and they killed him.
Just try to take it easy. Everything's going to be all right.
No, it isn't. He's dead. I know he's dead.
We'll take her downtown.
Yeah. What are her chances?
Well, depends.
On what?
How hard she tries.
9:10 a.m. Frank and I went next door to the Rarick home. The crime lab and latent fingerprint crews had arrived and were going over the place for physical evidence. We talked to Ray Pinker.
Well, that's how they got in.
Yeah.
Must have used their hands, couldn't find any tool marks.
Figure the window was open, huh, Ray?
Yeah, it looks that way. Back door was locked. Doesn't look like they tried to come through there. No indication they forced it.
Well, they sure tore the place up, didn't they? Did you find anything else?
Yeah, they went through everything. Even took some of the pictures off the walls. There isn't a drawer they didn't go through.
Any prints?
A couple of partials for elimination.
This is the girl's room, huh?
Yeah. Evidently made their entrance here, then went into her father's room. Had the argument there, and then dragged him in here and beat them both up.
This is where they found the old man, huh?
Yeah. Lying there on the floor.
How do you figure it happened, Ray?
The way the evidence points, they were looking for something. The old man wouldn't tell them where it was, so they brought him in here. Tried to get the daughter to talk. They must have pulled her out of the chair, hit her, then dragged her into the closet. In here. You can see how she stacked those suitcases up to pull herself out of the window.
Yeah. I don't see how she did it as bad off as she was. Well, and you think robbery's the motive, huh, Ray?
Maybe. One thing, sure.
What's that?
Take a look here. I think this is the murder weapon. Checked around, it looks like they picked it up in a wood pile out in the backyard.
Yeah.
They were ready to kill the Raricks when they came in.
9:30 a.m. The backyard and the surrounding ground were gone over. In the soft earth under the bedroom window, a pair of footprints was found. Plaster casts were made of them. 12:15 p.m. Frank put in a call to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. Miss Rarick had been given emergency treatment and had then been removed to the county hospital. According to the doctors in attendance, it would be some time before we'd be able to talk to her. 1:30 p.m. We began to canvass the neighborhood. From the people in the surrounding houses, we found that Mr. Rarick had retired from the wholesale grocery business about 10 years ago. He devoted himself to the cultivation of prize roses and the care of his daughter. The neighbors told us that the Raricks were quiet and that they seldom entertained. 3:15 p.m. We went back to talk to Miss Hurley.
I knew you'd be back.
Ma'am?
I knew you'd come back to talk to me. Could have told you a lot, but I thought that I'd just let you try and find out for yourself. Didn't do too well, did you, huh? Did you?
I don't think I understand, Miss Hurley.
Simple. Anything you want to know about this neighborhood, you come to the source. That's me. Anybody knows what's going on around here, I do.
Well, now, if you had information we could use, ma'am, why didn't you tell us before?
Didn't want to.
Now, look, Miss Hurley, this is a murder investigation. A man has been killed and a woman's been badly beaten. We're going to need all the cooperation we can get.
I'm ready now.
What's that?
I'll cooperate. What do you want to know?
All right, fine. First off, do you have any idea who might have done this?
You just bet I have.
All right, who?
That kid. Only one that's mean enough to do it. Only one.
Who's that?
Herman Jr., Mr. Rarick's son. You just bet he's the one.
Why do you say that?
Because I know, that's why. He's mean. Always had trouble with him. Because the only thrash there ever was between Patricia and me. Troublemaker. That's what he is. Pure and simple. A troublemaker.
How old is the boy, Miss Hurley?
28. Real monster.
Do you know where he is now?
No, and I'm not interested. Happiest day of my life was when he moved out of the house. Oh, he and I used to get in some arguments. Little brat, stand there and think he was so big. Finally, Mr. Rarick saw it, told him to get out. Moved right out of the house, bag and parcel, right out.
Now, you mean that Rarick and his son had arguments, is that right?
See, that's what I mean. No wonder people don't cooperate with you.
Ma'am?
I say something, then you ask me if I mean it. Of course I mean it. Wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. Like people who ask what time it is. You tell them, and then they ask you if you're sure. If they don't want to believe you, why'd they ask in the first place?
Yes, ma'am. Now about the arguments.
You gonna let me tell this my way, or aren't you?
Go right ahead.
Well, all right. Anyway, like I told you, this kid used to go out of his way to cause trouble. One day, he tore up the whole bed of his father's prize roses. 3 days before the big show, too. That was the end. Never did hear such arguments. Of course, they always had little quarrels, but this was a doozer, real loud. Thought that maybe Herman Jr. was going to hit his father. Sure looked like it.
Were you there at the time?
Well, no, I wasn't. Warm night, just a couple of months ago, I was out in the garage. Just couldn't help hearing what was going on. You know, houses being so close together. You can understand it.
Yes, ma'am, we can understand.
I don't like the way you said that, young man.
Well, I didn't mean anything by it, Miss Hurley.
Suppose not, but I don't want you to get the idea I'm the nosy type.
No, not at all.
Well, anyway, Mr. Rarick told that kid to get his things and get out, right out that night. Told him it was about time he tried to make it on his own. Said he was tired supporting a no good, worthless bum. Those were his exact words. No good, worthless bum. Real fight.
I see. Well, now, did the boy leave that night?
Oh, yeah. Went right into his room and packed.
Uh-huh.
Said he'd never come back. Didn't want anything more to do with the old man. Then his father told him he was going to cut him out of his will, not leave him a bare-faced dime. Well, you can just believe that's when the trouble really started.
Now, where was Miss Rarick all this time?
In her room. But she came out, wheeled herself right into the room. Told him to stop the foolishness. She always kind of pampered the boy, you know. Think myself that's what caused him to be like he was.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's when Herman talked about doing something. Said the old man was senile. Said he was crazy. That the money was his and he was going to see that he got his share.
Yeah.
Said he was going to get it if he had to kill somebody.
4:10 p.m. We got the full name and description of the boy from Miss Hurley. We went back to the office and ran the name through R&I. We found a Herman R. Rarick, Jr. with a record listing 3 arrests for drunk. We checked out his last known address, an apartment on South Hill, and we found that he'd moved several weeks before. The landlady gave us a forwarding address. 6:10 p.m. Frank and I drove out to see Herman Rarick. It was a large apartment hotel in the Westlake area. We talked to the desk clerk.
Sure, I know Herman. Nice guy. Once in a while, he gets a little loud, but most of the time, he's a real nice guy.
I see. Is he in now?
I don't think so. Let me look. No. Here's his key. I think he went out about an hour ago. Wasn't feeling too well. Bad hangover.
You got an idea where he might be?
Oh, I didn't talk to him. Just saw him go out.
Do you know what he does for a living?
Herman?
Yes, sir.
Don't think he does nothing. Plays the horses a little bit. Picks up a buck that way. Good player. Sure knows the dogs. He's given me a couple of tips. Didn't do any good, but he sure does all right. Made a real killing yesterday. Must have hit it for about 4,000 or 5,000.
Is that right?
Yeah. Showed me the money last night. Real big roll. Least 4 or 5 grand. Tips he put out to me never did any good.
Can you tell us where he was last night?
Say, what's this all about anyway? Herm done something?
Be a little better if we talk to him.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess you guys know what you're doing, huh?
Yes, sir.
You want to know what he was doing last night, that right?
That's right.
Well, I can tell you. Really tied one on. Of course, with that luck, I don't wonder. He really tied one on.
Sir?
Loaded. He got in here and had a bottle. Say, you won't say anything about this to the management, will you?
No, sir, we won't.
Couldn't have that happen. They don't approve of drinking while I'm on duty. You understand, kind of stuffy, but that's the way they look at it.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, old Herm rolls in here, and he's got this bottle. Asked me to have one with him. Well, I don't like to get him sore, so I do. Then we have a couple more.
I see.
Sat down over there on the couch. I read aloud from the encyclopedia.
What was that?
Encyclopedia. I'm going through all 23 volumes, maps and all.
That's nice.
Training for a quiz show. Volume 5 now. Time I get through, I'll know the answers to every question in the world. Gonna win me a mess of money.
Yes, sir. Now about last night.
Read aloud whenever I can. Remember it better that way.
Yeah. Now, what time was Rarick here?
Let's see. I guess 7:15.
Did he go out after that?
Sure didn't. Old Herm. That boy can really put it away. Killed a bottle. And right while I was reading to him about cement.
About what?
Cement. You know, how they make it. A lot of pictures in here. Reading to him about cement, and he fell asleep.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't really fall asleep. Passed out.
Yeah.
Cold. Right there on the couch. Cold.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Old Herm didn't go anyplace last night.
At 8:12 p.m., Herman Rarick returned to the hotel. We checked his shoe size and found that it was not the same as the print found at the scene of the murder. Frank and I talked to him for about an hour. We questioned him about the money that he'd suddenly come up with. He explained that he'd won it at the races. He gave us the name of the man who'd accompanied him to the racetrack. We checked with him and found that Rarick's story was true. 10:46 p.m. I called the office and found that we'd gotten a message from the county hospital. Miss Rarick was able to talk to us. She wasn't completely out of danger, but barring a relapse, she was expected to recover. Frank and I drove out to the hospital and talked to her.
I wish I could help you more than I have, but there just isn't anything else.
Can you give us any kind of a description at all?
No, I didn't get a good look at them. It was dark. I guess I was so frightened I wasn't looking for anything.
I see. Now, did either one of them use a name at any time?
I don't think I know what you mean.
While they were there, did you hear one of them call to the other and use a name?
Not that I know of. I'm pretty sure they didn't.
Can you give us any idea of how tall they were?
That'd be pretty hard to do. I could only guess. I'd say maybe as tall as you. I don't think much taller.
How about their build? Was it heavy or slight?
I can't be sure. I guess if I had to say one way or the other, it'd be medium. The one was very strong, though.
Ma'am?
The one that carried me into the closet, he was strong. Just lifted me out of the wheelchair and carried me over to the closet and threw me on the floor.
Did your father have any large amounts of money in the house?
Yes, he did. He never did believe in banks. Not since the crash. Always said he could take care of the money as well as they could.
I see.
He had all his savings in the house. He kept it in the mattress on his bed.
Do you know how much you might have had?
I'm only guessing, but I'd say maybe $2,000 or $3,000. My father didn't discuss finances with me. Always thought it was a man's business, that I shouldn't have to worry about it. I tried to tell him. I tried all the time.
What's that?
To put the money in a bank.
I see.
He used to tell everybody he had it, and I don't think that helped any.
Now, who'd he talk to?
People in the neighborhood. He used to tell them he didn't get the interest the bank paid, but he always knew where his money was. Used to ask them if they could say the same thing.
Can you think of anybody in the neighborhood who might do a thing like this?
No, we've lived in the same place a long time. No, none of the neighbors would even think about it.
I see. Did you and your father have any enemies? Anybody that you had any arguments with?
No, there wasn't anyone.
I see.
Mr. Friday?
Yeah?
Does my brother know about this?
Yes, ma'am, he does. He's outside in the hall right now. He'd like to see you.
The two of them never did get along. I tried to make them understand each other. I tried so hard. It didn't seem to do any good.
Is there anything else you can tell us?
There's one thing I kind of hate to mention. It seems so silly.
What's that, Miss Rarick?
Well, when they were arguing with my father in the next room, they got very loud. I thought I recognized one of the voices. I'm not sure. But at the time, I thought about it.
Yeah.
Then when they came into my room, I was pretty sure. But maybe I'm wrong, and I don't want to cause anybody trouble. I wouldn't want to make a mistake about a thing like this.
Well, now, who do you think it might have been?
It sounded like Smokey.
Who's that?
Smokey. He used to do some work around the yard for us.
Does he still work for you?
No, last time I saw him was about a year ago. I haven't seen him since then.
Would you know where we can get in touch with him?
No, I don't.
What's his full name?
I don't know. That's why I thought it might be a little silly. I don't even know his right name. Just told us to call him Smokey. He's a young man.
Yeah.
Can you give us a description of the man?
Oh, yes, nice looking. I hope I haven't made a mistake. I don't want to cause any trouble for him.
Well, don't worry about it.
What?
You didn't cause it. We continued to talk to Miss Rarick. We got the description of the handyman who'd worked for her father. 11:28 p.m. We went back to the city hall and ran the name and description through the moniker files in R&I. We came up with one good possible. In checking his record, we found that his full name was Charles P. Roxford. His age was listed as 26 years, and the rest of his description matched the one we'd gotten from the victim. Roxford had an arrest record listing several charges of forgery, and at that time, there was an outstanding warrant on him for check passing. We went back to the office and called Forgery Division. Yeah, Roxford, that's right. No, Charles P. Roxford. R-O-X. That's it. What's that? Well, no, we want to talk to him about a killing out on Brighton. Well, when was that? Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. No, we'll be here. Right. Thank you. Well, it goes like that sometimes.
What do you mean? They know where he is?
Yeah, he's in jail. Charles Roxford had been picked up by officers in Forgery Division while he was trying to pass a bad check. They were talking to him when we called. The suspect was brought to the homicide squad room where we questioned him. He'd admit nothing except his name and that he'd been trying to pass a phony check.
You're off your rocker. You got me for one thing, hanging paper. That's it, and there's nothing more you can make out of it.
How about the money we found on you?
Yeah, how about it?
Where'd it come from?
I won it.
Where?
In a crap game.
Where was the game?
I forgot. It's a floating game, moved around a lot.
You worked for the Rarick family a year ago.
I don't know. Might have. I worked for a lot of people.
You worked for him.
Like I said, I might have.
They seem to think you did.
So they're right. What's it mean?
You ever had any arguments with Mr. Rarick?
No, we got along good. Never had no trouble.
His daughter thinks different.
That's so?
That's right.
And she's off her rocket, too. Look, maybe you guys got all night, but I haven't.
You aren't going anyplace, fella.
Well, how about booking me, then? Let's talk about it in the morning.
That's fine with us, Roxford, as soon as you answer a few questions for us.
I told you all I know.
Maybe you forgot something. Let's go over it again.
Okay, where do we start?
You tell us what you've been doing the last few days.
Any one day in particular, or do you want a rundown, minute by minute?
You just tell us what you've been doing, will you?
Well, now, let's see. This is Tuesday, isn't it?
Wednesday morning.
Big deal. Let's start with Monday. That all right with you?
All right, get on with it now.
I got up in the morning about, I think it's about 10:30. Lit a cigarette. Then I got dressed and went downstairs and had some breakfast. Interesting?
Go ahead.
I can spice it up for you if you want. Kind of dull when you tell it straight.
You just tell the story when you get it straight.
What are you guys trying to prove? What are you trying to tie on me?
What'd you do last night?
Had dinner and went to a show.
Where'd you eat dinner?
Place down on Spring?
Did you eat alone?
Yeah.
What'd you do then?
I went to a show.
Who went with you?
Nobody. I didn't say anybody went with me.
Oh, I must have thought you said that.
Yeah. I went alone.
Where'd you go after that?
Walked around, had a couple of drinks.
Where?
Bar down on 5th.
What time was that?
Around 12:30 or so.
Anybody with you?
No.
You know the bartender?
Never went in the place before.
Well, then you got no way of proving you were there, have you?
Do I have to?
That'd help.
Why, I'm a big boy now. I don't have to explain anything to you guys. Get off my back, huh? I'm getting sick of playing footsie with you.
Where'd you go after you left the bar?
I went home.
Where's that?
Place over on 4th.
What time did you get in?
I don't know, 1:30, 2.
The desk clerk see you come in?
No, he was asleep.
How long ago did you say you worked for the Raricks?
I didn't. You said it was a year ago.
Was that right?
I guess so. I forget. Why? What's this about them, anyway?
You got any way of proving where you were last night?
I don't have to.
That's the way it looks to you, mister.
Look, you're in trouble if you don't come up with an alibi we can't break.
Is that right?
That's right.
Why?
Because Miss Rarick got a good look at you.
She couldn't have. The lights were out.
All right, Roxford. Tell us about it.
Come on, Roxford.
All right. I should have known. I never should have done it. But I didn't have any choice. Well, you can figure that, can't you?
What do you mean?
I owed this money. The guys were getting tired of waiting. They said I had to come up with it. I didn't have a choice.
That right.
Sure, you can see it, can't you? I had to come up with the money. I tried to win it back. The more I played, the more I owed him. There wasn't any other way. I knew the old man had it. It wasn't doing him any good. I needed it. I knew he kept his money in the house.
Who was with you?
Jackie Forbes.
You know where we can find him?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Want to get the stenographer?
Right.
Should have known. There wasn't any choice. There wasn't any other way.
Why'd you kill him?
He knew who I was. No choice. I had to kill her.
Is that right?
Well, sure, you can see that yourself, can't you? I had to have the money. If I didn't pay these guys, I'd have been in real trouble.
Yeah.
Well, they'd give me all kinds of trouble.
What do you got now?
On December 10th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial. The suspects were tried and convicted of murder in the first degree and received sentence as prescribed by law. The jury made no recommendation for leniency.